back to the Unleashing. I'm your host, Jared Beeler. I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to talk about on this video, but I decided I'm just going to talk, and we'll see where it goes from there. Because sometimes that's just the best thing for me to do is just start talking. Paying attention to the UN thing going on right now with Trump. I don't care about any of the other rhetoric going on. I want to know if they're going to bring forward that peace deal that Jared Kushner's been working on. That's what I'm curious about. If it is, and it's confirmed around the 3rd or 2nd of October, then the tribulation will start. From that point on, 1290 days from the book of Daniel in the last chapter, it'll land on Passover 2022. And from Passover 2022 to Shabbat Shavuot, the day of trumpet, right after the Feast of Trumpets, 2 days after, on the 26th, it'll land up 1260 days, all right, being the length of period that the Israelites are in the wilderness after they flee from the abomination of desolation. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the story. They have the spirit destiny. They've had it for a while, and they call it that. It's the spirit that jabbed Jesus, and Hitler was big on it, stuff like they've had it the whole time. I don't know where they have it stored. Angela Merkel probably has it. That's just an inside joke because she's Hitler's daughter. Supposedly the story goes that when the time comes, their guy that they have on the inside, which will be the Antichrist, is going to go into the temple and cut himself on the arm or the wrist and bleed out in the temple, being the abomination of desolation. I guess that's supposedly what they have planned. So it's gonna be pretty bad, and then that'll be the same time. Very interesting the time they ran, and it's definitely still up in the air. This looks like everything's primed and ready to go. I don't see it going on another year with the wars and stuff like that. Everything's just too amped up right now. It's not cooling down. I mean, it's getting pushed now at the point where it comes back usually and then comes back and goes. Like a woman that's about to give birth and stuff. Now it just seems like it's being pushed right over the edge. The sanctions on the Chinese, us selling arms over there to Taiwan. I mean, we're doing everything we can to just amp this thing up and kick it into overdrive. Expected Gog and Magog to happen around the very start of it, and I have for a long time. But I was listening to Chuck Missler the other day, and he had a good point, and it's the same thing that I've hit on before too. That inside the tribulation is when God starts to deal with the Jews again supernaturally in his way of divinely protecting them and stuff like that. And him starting it off and Gog and Magog actually being a part of the Second Seal, World War, and just being an aspect of it would fit in really good for the 7 years of that. The reason why I would not put that at the end, like somebody recently made a video about, is because 5/6 of the army is destroyed. So 1/6 is allowed to go back with their tail between their legs and know that Israel is protected by God. It's their nation. They're made to look like punks, right? Being the Islamic nations. During Judgment Day, second coming of Christ, nobody's going anywhere. Judgment set up, boom, destroyed Israel, and the remnant of any Christians that are left, plus us that come back with Jesus, set up the 1,000-year reign on earth, and the repopulation happens from those that were not transfigured into new bodies during that time. So it being after, no. Could cleanup go into it? Could there be a pause halfway through the tribulation when they flee, and then other 3.5 years of burning weapons take place into it? Yeah, sure, that's a total possibility. But as for Gog and Magog battle to happen in the middle, the problem is if they were going to go up there where they felt safe, and that's the word. It's not where they were safe. It's where they felt. I can't think of the word right now, but the original breakdown is it's kind of like a cocky attitude. Nobody can touch us, right? And that's the position they're in. By the middle of the tribulation, if the Gog and Magog or anything like that were to start then, from Ezekiel 38, the problem is that you're already halfway in the tribulation. Over half of the world's population is dead by the time the two witnesses go up. Nobody's even dealing safely in anything or thinking anything of the sort. The ocean's going to be turned to blood. We know that the fifth trumpet blows at the 2 year mark. We broke it down now from that point, and it's very interesting that it just came out recently and was revealed to me, and it's been right in front of my face the whole time. From that point forward, you go from 2 year mark 5 months forward, then it starts the sixth trumpet that is blowing, and 200 million army of celestial beings of whatever sort that the angels are in control of are allowed to go out and kill 1/3 of the Earth's population. It goes for a year, a month, a day, and an hour, pushing that into the middle of the tribulation, being a year and a half from the 2nd year mark. Right to the 3.5 year mark when the two witnesses go up. Right after that, the seventh trumpet is blowing. Now, recently discovered, I've said it's anywhere from a year, I'm guessing, to 6 months. I want to put it in a month. It just seems like a lot's got to happen during the whole Nibiru thing, which I'm guessing is going to be the trumpets, all right? The first one through the fourth one, most likely. Here's what I just found out recently. From the inside scoop that I heard from one of the channels on what Hillary was talking about, they're planning to stand underground while it passes through the solar system and pelts the Earth, which they already know about, and what the underground bases are for 6 months. So if that's true, and they have that timeline already, we can add that on to the 2 year mark, bring it back, and we know the seals happen within a year and a half from the start of the tribulation into a year and a half of it. By the sixth one, around the seventh, we're a year and a half into the tribulation, and I'm guessing the proximity of the trumpet's just about to blow and start, being the fire mingle and all of the stuff that has to do with a planetoid coming through and the asteroid impacts and stuff like that. That planetary body, the closest to the planet, basically is like Roke's Law or whatever it is, where there's a bigger planet that goes by a smaller one, and the gravitation literally causes the other one to be destroyed. Our planet won't be destroyed, but I'm guessing that it's going to release all the plates at once. And that's why there's a worldwide earthquake that happens all over the place, and it's that proximity that they say hide us in the under the mountain for the day of the Lord's his wrath finally come, and then from that point on, the trumpets get blown and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. Supposedly, insider story is Hillary Clinton was having a meeting. She wants to be president, the first president after Nibiru passes through. Like I say, they already know about all this stuff. She's not the only one that's been talking about it. Obama was having a meeting just like two or 3 months ago. Steven Anderson, Whoopi Goldberg, the one comedian guy that's really been pushing the liberal agenda and stuff like that, and a whole bunch of others. They was down in New Zealand. MSM was not allowed to be a part of it. Insider came out, said same thing that we're talking about now with the Hillary thing. It was about Planet X coming through Nibiru, and he was talking about how they need to stay with him underground and how they're going to be safe and all this other stuff while the Earth gets pelted. Hillary was having the same speech. You have to basically submit to her and you'd be safe. And she wants to be the first president, and after her line is going to go to Chelsea Clinton. Here's why this stuff needs to happen soon. Hillary Clinton's getting old, all right? She wants to run for president, all this other stuff. She's about to be dead. I already thought she was there a couple times, as bad as it was, her falling down and stuff like that. She wants to be president so bad, she's literally going to fulfill being the whore of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, that is, in America. I mean, if she makes it through. One of the interesting things she said is they were asked, well, what's going to happen with Obama? And she said, Obama the Great will be ruling from a position from the UN, which will be changed, we know, to the New World Order or some sort of aspect of that. And we got that from insiders like Svali, who escaped out of the Illuminati and said the New World Order, of course, is a front, or the UN is a front for the New World Order. We got all kinds of scoop like that. So we know that that's what they're doing. The whole Jade Helm 15, everything like that, it's all been pre-positioning, pre-planning. They moved millions of vehicles and stuff like that to do a couple little scenes where they threw a smoke bomb here and there, and then they never moved anything back. It was all pre-planned, pre-staging. The fires in California looked like a sweep job before a Chinese naval invasion of the West Coast. Russia's got a whole fleet of subs, including some of their secret ones now that they've been probing the East Coast. So the prophecies of that getting nuked on that side. I mean, the whole thing's ready to go up. I don't see it going another year. I just don't. So I'm really expecting this peace deal to come out. What could happen, though, is they do it hush-hush. Instead of doing it at the UN, they decide to keep it quiet or something like that. And the reason I say that is because in Daniel it says you'll know when the abomination of desolation happens. Run to the hills and you'll know there's 1260 days of the tribulation left. Almost to the point where there could be a mystery of who the Antichrist might be up to that point. And that there's just a possibility that I'm throwing out there that they might try to do it hidden or something like that. We'll know because we're going to be out of here when around the time that it happens. Could we go into it until the war breaks out? Absolutely. God keep us into the last second witnessing of people and stuff like that. But We're not appointed to the wrath that is the tribulation and the damage that comes with it. We don't know exactly what the first seal entails, the white rider, if it's just the Antichrist, if it's some sort of deception that sweeps the world worldwide. We don't know exactly what it is. We know that the second seal has to do with war, all right? And it's going to be massive. We know the third one has to do with economic collapse, which are waiting on standby. And then the fourth is death, and it's going to be a combination of all kinds of things. But it also says, quarter of the earth dies from the seals that were before it, from starvation and war. So we know that happens, and this is going to happen within a year and a half of the time. The thing kicks off fast. At a year and a half mark, boom, first trumpet's going to blow, and we go through a stage of the trumpets leading up to the fifth one at the 2-year mark, and we have that marked. We have that marked right around the very time because of the times that it gives in the Bible of it, where the other ones don't. Those two do. The fifth and the sixth say exactly how long they are, and we know exactly when the seventh trumpet is blown. It's right after the two witnesses, and that's halfway through the tribulation at the 3.5 mark. From that way, we can work back, and that's exactly what I did to figure that out. So it's very interesting. Like I say, I'm totally convinced now the Feast of Trumpets has nothing to do with the start of the tribulation. It has to do with the second coming. We come back at that time, and it's for the Jews. They'll be blowing the trumpets for us, showing up with Jesus at that time. So it still works the way it's supposed to. It just wasn't for us in the beginning. We're at a hidden time when we take off. At what time that is, it's in God's hands completely. We don't know exactly what it is. Do I have my speculations? Yeah, I do. I probably think it's going to be last second stuff. What I saw in my vision was that UFO. It was big. It was on standby. We don't know exactly what the FBI was looking at. Was it the planetoid coming in? Was it something that would have made it so we could see it? Or was it some UFOs charging up that have to do with the rapture, and they're getting ready on standby to pull the massive deception? And of course, they're going to have to do like an Independence Day move where they put them all over the place. The one that I saw in my vision was about a mile in diameter. It was huge, and traffic was backed up on the bridge. And everything else was very interesting. But it was right at the same time, had nothing to do with the rapture. We went up, boom, and it was just there, pretending like it had something to do with the disappearances. Never had anything to do with us. We were blasting right by it. So, and I was off a ways from it. So anyways, but yeah, very interesting right now. So, I just want to talk about a few things, some of the newest stuff, But yeah, it's all coming down to it, and it's lined up real good from Iran and Russia over there. And I think the Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 war is definitely going to have to do with the second seal. I think it's just an aspect that's talked about it. But being in the tribulation of that point, Israel's going to be under God's protection now, and for the 3.5 years leading up to that, with the two witnesses that show up, they're going to be under a type of protection that the world can't touch, and it's going to make everybody mad. And then when the Antichrist goes in there, boom, that's when it's done. That's the second half. It's like, if you guys haven't woke up to Jesus being the Messiah and stuff yet, it's time to get sent in the wilderness. You're going to have it rough for the last 3.5, but you're going to be under their protection, But it's clean up act, and it's and during that first part, another reason for the protection is 144,000 that get marked and stuff like that. So it's it all fits in it pretty good, and that's why I think that it'll be right around the start, maybe around the second seal for the Ezekiel 38 war to take place. But I've always thought that it was around it, and I've thought before that it could be before it too. And the way that it's lining up, it just doesn't. It doesn't look like it looks like it's going to go into it when it's around the start. One of the things Jesus said in 2014 when I had that sat down at the Dos Hombres restaurant with him, it's the only time he's ever sat across from me and I could see him. And the last thing I did, I've told you guys before, was I knew that if I asked when the rapture was, he'd be like, soon. And so I was trying to be sneaky even though he knew what I was doing. And I was like, when's Gog and Magog going to happen? So that I could speculate on when the rapture was going to happen. This was in 2014. And he did just like this. He looked over to the side. And I could tell exactly what he was doing because he's doing the same thing that I do when I'm talking. I'm not really looking at anything. I'm looking at something else, except his is the real deal. He was actually like looking somewhere else in the universe, the world, or maybe over there in Israel. And he goes, it's happening right now. And that was it. That was the last thing that he said, and then he was gone. And I'm like, what? And it didn't make any sense until 2015 when I found out that the oil that they had over there was what was getting everybody's attention, that massive, massive oil find out of the Golan Heights, which was interesting because they found that in 2013 but kept it hush-hush. The only ones that knew about it were inside sources and top officials and stuff like that from other countries and stuff like Russia, Iran, and all that kind of stuff that knew about it. And I didn't know about it at the time. So when he said that in 2014, he already obviously knew because he knows everything, and that's when it was taking place. And I didn't find out for it exactly what it was or why he said that because I was curious until 2015 when it became public about that oil find. So it's very interesting, but that's definitely a part of it. If you don't know, there are two Gog and Magog situations that are spoken in the Bible. One is the one in the beginning around this time of the tribulation. 5/6 of the army is destroyed. One of the six of it is allowed to go back, tail between their legs. They burn the weapons for 7 years, and they bury the bodies for like 7 months. And it looks nuclear because they put signs up next to the bodies and stuff like that. It's almost like radioactive. And the second one, God comes down, destroys everything he wants in the white throne judgment setup. And that's one of the distinctive things that you can do to tell it apart, that they're not the same. Where somebody might say, oh, they're the same. I've done videos on it and stuff like that. No, they're completely different. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, still waiting to see if this is going to be a go or no go. Could it possibly be a no go? Yeah, of course, there's always that possibility. We don't know. But the way things are being revealed, if he would have told me exactly when it was, right, and of course he's not going to, but if he would have back in like 2014, I would not be on the quest that I've been on to reach as many lives as I can, or probably have made the YouTube channel in time to talk to thousands of people, all right? I would have just put stuff off until the last second. By not knowing when it was, I've been able to go all these places and do all these things and have all these dang jobs. I'm so sick of that. But anyways, it's made it happen. So to have stuff revealed now, right at the end, really makes me think, okay, now that we are at the end, now it's being revealed. And that's just my personal opinion on it. So, I don't know. We'll wait and see. Like I say, there's a number of things that look like they're lined up for this thing to happen. I'm not the only one either. You guys watch other videos besides mine. There's plenty of people out there, children, that are having dreams and visions exactly like it's supposed to be. And children are innocent. They don't play any stupid games. They just come right to the table with what they got. They're totally, hey, God told me this. He's going to render the earth in fire next year, or something else. It's how they are, and it's awesome. It's just straight to the point, and I trust them over anybody that says they're a prophet. Prophets were back in the Old Testament, right? And they brought in the word. Now we have Jesus, and he speaks to us, and we do have prophecies. But as for prophets, not really into it. I don't follow them most of the time, because if you are going to be a prophet, you can't be wrong at all, ever. At all. Once you are, then you're not a prophet. So anybody who's just making stuff up or using vague overtures out of large groups of numbers and stuff like that, it's not prophecy. It's just charlatanness. So, but we'll wait and see what's going on. I just kind of wanted to talk for a few minutes and get some stuff out. I was going to do this last night, and I got too tired, and I almost didn't do it tonight. But it's like, no, I need to talk. I always have time if things don't go down to slow it down a bit, and you guys know I've been putting out a lot of videos and stuff like that right now around the time, and it's only to get to as many people as possible, leave as much information as possible, always try to save as many people as possible, and especially if this is close to the end right now. So we'll just keep checking and watching and waiting, and we'll see what happens. But we're not out of this yet, and it looks really good, and I really think that it's still this year, so we'll wait and see. But all right, just wanted to get this out. God bless. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.